Hey guys, welcome to the Lucky Boy Records podcast. We're going to be talking about a load of stuff. Today, I have, sitting in my bedroom, we have Jordan Wernyj from URY.
Hello.
He's here. He has a very soothing voice, as you
Oh,
can tell.
thank you very much.
It's just what you need for when you're hosting a radio show.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I'm not used to being on this side of it, Gully.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what to expect. I've never been interviewed before. So discussed with on someone else's show before.
As opposed to it being classified as an interview. It's meant to be a very chill discussion.
I am very relaxed.
It's going to be great.
Popcorn.
Yeah, we've got loads of snacks. We've got some snowy mini Yule log bites from a random shop, which I will not name, and some salted popcorn. Sponsored by Beep. Anyway, yeah, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, this is amazing. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to chat about loads of stuff, but let's start it off with the reason why I kind of know you properly is just through music generally.
Indeed.
And especially more recently with your endeavors in URY and hosting your radio show. Do you want to talk about exactly what it is that you do? Right.
So for URY, I host a rock and roll radio show, and that was in first year. My flatmate actually had the indie hour, and he got quite a bit of run with that. He did really well with that because
was this show?
This is show, yeah. And he had he just loves indie music, and he got a really good run with that, and people kind of loved it because obviously, a lot of people, there's a big market for indie music, of course. And I watched The Boat That Rocked, funnily enough, which is my favourite movie of all time. And I was like, I really want to host a rock and roll radio show because rock and roll just needs to carry on. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And just being able to talk to people and play music that has influenced me. And the fact that URY can give you that for such as little as, I think it was £7 membership, and you get trained, and then you apply for a show, and you can have as many shows as you like, and you get on a weekly show. And then I thought, this is the start of something. I'm going to play rock and roll. And my first show, oh man, I really want to listen to it back. I don't think I can listen to it. I don't know where it'd be.
Is this your first show? Are you talking about your first show with
ever?
Is this first rock and roll radio show or first one with Show?
So I started out just doing my own show, Rock and Roll Radio.
Yeah.
And then me and Show decided to collab and just do one together throughout the whole term. But then I missed it so much doing my rock and roll stuff because it sort of got overtaken by indie quite a bit. Because it was Show's show, of course, and I just went on it. And I thought, I need to bring this back. And then second year is when it kicked off massively, thanks to you, sir, helping me, giving me a jingle, and getting guests on the show towards the end of last term, and now this first term has been amazing. It's absolutely blown up.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved seeing what you've done with it because it's been so cool just seeing all the different guests that have been on. I had a really good time when I was on it myself.
Yeah, exactly, legend. It was so good.
There was so many good moments which I remember just from the whole kind of progress I've seen of you taking this so far over the past year.
I just wanted to thank you so much. Shout out to Lucky Boy and yourself because
thanks.
you've helped me so much with it. But no, I wanted to take it in a direction where it becomes more communal, and I can get people on acts where they can be heard, and then download that show, give it to them, and that's music live session for them. Because now I've got live sessions playing in their studio, which is amazing. And last year, it won Best Specialist Music Show of the Year by URY. And I thought, I've put half an effort into that, and it's won that, so I really could blow this up. And I thought, I'd get all my friends together, including yourself, and help me out, which is great. It's just communal. And then I'm going to hopefully apply for the National Student Radio Awards at the end of the year, try the hardest for that. And Alex West, the manager of URY, not anymore because there's been new elections.
Yeah, they've just got new
people in.
Yeah.
But at the time, every time he sees me, he says we're going to make the show massive, and it's going to apply and see what happens. And hopefully, I can take a trip to London at the end of the year. And it's a very big do, and it's suit and tie business.
Oh right,
awards.
really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's in London and everything.
Damn.
I think it's presented by Scott Mills as well, which is
cool.
Yeah, which is really cool.
I'm not surprised you're going for that. I think you have probably quite a good chance. If any of you haven't actually listened or tuned into any of his shows at the moment, you should definitely have a look. So I think they're still up on the Mixcloud, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can listen to them again. But other than that, it should be every Saturday. It's either 5 or 6.
Yeah.
O'clock changes per term depending on the slots.
And you're doing them basically every single week during term time.
Basically, unless I'm at a gig or something, it's how it is. But I try my best, and then the guests as well. So it's benefits the guests because they can get a live session of their music for themselves, and to come in and be on a have the experience of being on a radio show with all the equipment and the tech, because URY won a bursary sort of thing against like York Student Television.
I remember this happening last year.
And they got brand spanking new equipment, and it's just fascinating for them to come in, and they absolutely love the experience.
Yeah.
Including yourself, hopefully. It's just like great fun for everyone to come together.
Yeah, it's a very professional environment, because it
really is. Yeah.
Of course, because I'm a music and sound recording student in York, I have taken advantage of the studios we have there, but the whole dynamic, comparing the two, it's a completely different environment, and it's so awesome how URY completely specializes in radio, and the tech they have there is so kind of it's so professional in terms of having a radio kind of setup, because I've seen everything and how it works now, because I've done a few stuff with you, and it's great just seeing the whole setup.
And of course, if there's people wanting to go make it big, great experience to start off with. You know what I mean?
If
they get on, because I'm sure BBC Radio York do like BBC Introducing or something like that. They do like mini shows, get guests on and things like that.
Oh, for sure.
So it's a great experience for them to do that.
Yeah.
And the actual committee themselves are so dedicated to it. Mm-hmm. Like one of the committee members does the longest radio show ever, and it literally lasts about, it lasts like 20 hours. He has the record or something like that. He's just done one constantly.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
I don't know if it was 20 hours. It might have been a bit shorter than that, but it literally lasts all through the night, like evening and night and morning, and it's constant going. And there's like 3 of them, and they take nap breaks and everything. It's insane. Mm-hmm. And at Spark the other night, the same guy, one of the tech guys from URY, set all that up, and it's just amazing how dedicated people are to doing that, and how talented people are for doing that. As you say, when you were on my show, someone came in and was like, "Oh, we could have set up a massive live session and filmed you and everything."
I remember that.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So there's still so much more to explore with it. And, it's rock and roll, man. Just keep it going.
Exactly, it's great. Well, you mentioned Spark, because you actually played there yourself as a musician.
Yeah.
Now, because I know you primarily for your radio stuff, but recently you've been doing a lot more with music.
Sure.
And it's very interesting, like, to see you kind of doing this whole collection of things to do with music. And it's great, because I think people should get involved with student music, and especially the York music scene, as much as possible. When did you decide basically to try and basically just do both?
Yeah. So I think originally for me, music-wise, I came to like your special. You get your favorite kind of musicians and specialize in your own sort of type at some point. For me, it came in second year of college, so I was quite older than a lot of people. A lot of people get into their music when they're like 13, 14, 15. And my brother left his electric guitar at the house, and I had to get long bus journeys to college every day, an hour and a half long, there and back. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this time to just listen to the music and see what happens. And I originally started with like quite heavy rock, Blackstone Cherry, who we got to see.
Yeah, we saw them in Leeds about a year ago now.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing gig. One of my favourite gigs, because they're the band that I grew up with 100%, like what I started with. And then sort of branching out, and then I got my own sense of identity, got a sense of aesthetic. People get their own sort of sense of what they like and what they don't like. And for me, it was 60s sort of music, prog rock, status quo sort of thing. Amazing. Rolling Stones, massive influences for me. And that just started in second year of college, so that wasn't that long ago.
So did you discover that kind of music by yourself, or was that like do your parents have any like influence on what kind of stuff you listen to?
No, they don't really. They're not really that big into music. For me, it was watching movies or playing like video games or something.
Yeah.
And you'd hear a soundtrack to it. Mm-hmm. And like it's sort of vibes when people like watch Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time, to be a bit nerdy, and they think the soundtrack's amazing. It's things like that. I did that with old games or old movies, and thought that's the kind of music that gets me going. Yeah,
it's like pop culture, just like bringing back a lot of
100%
that kind of thing. Because that's a quite common trend nowadays, especially with the hype over media like Guardians of the Galaxy. So I remember when that came out as well, they put out like CDs and vinyl of the soundtrack, which are basically just like compilation albums of like retro tunes.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting seeing how film and just games and what you were saying earlier just can influence people and have them develop their own like music taste, which spreads across countless eras.
Yeah, exactly.
And not just what comes out nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have these influences from when they were young, like you say, or parents, massive influences, these deep, heartful stories about why they like the music they do. And for me, it's just not like that whatsoever. I listen to it, and it's not even the lyrics. I hardly listen to the lyrics at all, and it's why I struggle with lyrics today, I guess. But it's just the beat and how the mannerisms are of singing, and the fact someone like Mick Jagger could get up and be crazy on stage and just full on go for it and channel his energy. And Elvis as well, massive influence, Elvis Presley. He just got up with him and his guitar and do all these dance moves and would literally just be undoubtedly himself. And that is what I love and want to channel. And that took me a while to get into doing it myself because of confidence, of course. And I'd had no history of singing or playing any instrument apart from violin in year 7.
Recorder in year 4.
Yeah, recorder in year 4. It's literally the same thing. And my brother left his guitar, and I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and learn a bit of guitar. And it's literally been on and off for so long. I haven't sat down and repeatedly done it. I've been doing it on and off for about 3 or 4 years now. And that's altogether playing time, I'd say a good year of it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's been so on and off.
Oh, definitely.
Which is quite crazy. And then recently, I was doing the radio, and I got involved with all these bands that are doing it, like you massive influence on me, Gully. And going to these open mics and seeing people perform and being like, I could get up and just do that. And if you do a simple song good, it's just a bit of fun. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no pressure to be this amazing guitarist and someone that's doing amazing in that field straight away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because a lot of what York is like, especially the student music, which I hear on campus and sometimes off campus as well, a lot of it is mostly just people just playing for themselves, and it's honestly great. I haven't seen many people in York who are trying to it's hard to kind of explain, but it's quite a genuine scene, a student music scene, I think, in New York. It's hard to find people who you can tell aren't really doing it for themselves and are just trying to do it for other reasons. I know a few acts myself who would be more interested in playing to play for radio, basically, which is it's amusing because that's what you love doing is radio. But a lot of what I've heard you play and the people who you've got on are just amazing guests, and just the inputs they have and different backgrounds they present are great.
I just find it fascinating to interact with those people as well.
Yeah.
And I've had discussions with many people about how they've come into this style of music and why they're doing what they're doing, and their influences from bands or acts themselves, how it's coming together. And then I basically just been analysing all this, and then recently was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. Buy an hella expensive guitar. Buy a hella expensive Vintera Telecaster thin line, and thought, this is it. I'm going to just have fun with it, have a go. And my influences for playing live are very different to what I listen to normally.
Yeah.
I'm very Elvis, Buddy Holly, rockabilly, 50s, 60s kind of guy playing live. But then I'd go home and listen to heavy metal or something. It's absolutely insane how
That's
it just sort of, changes up. But I think it's because if you buy yourself, there's only a certain amount of music that you can do.
Yeah.
And it sounds okay. And that style, I love that kind of style of 50s and 60s that you don't need much to be okay.
Yeah, I find it so intriguing how you picked up your stylistic main influences from somewhere which wasn't an inherent thing. The whole idea that you could say, well, are you saying that entirely rockabilly and the kind of influence it had on you was entirely a media thing, and how it, you yourself are someone in your position as a person who hosts a URY radio show or a radio show in general, that you can have influence on people and alter their taste of music. It's just how people consume media nowadays, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think a lot to do with it is aesthetic as well. I just kind of love that 50s, 60s aesthetic and 70s, and the sort of vibe it brings. I don't know, really. I've never really thought about it in depth before, my influences. I've just come to it myself.
Yeah.
And
Do you think part of it is how... Well, do you think that music is still as genuine nowadays as it was back in the 70s and 80s and 60s?
Yeah, in terms of some artists, I think so.
It's just a bit oversaturated, I guess. It's hard to know where to look.
Yeah, because there's so many bands and so many people can, make it now. Yeah. Either on a small scale or large scale. Imagine, you can't get you couldn't back then get your music out that much. But nowadays, look what you could do. We went to Liverpool. You met Mr. Mike Blue, and he had a CD on sale. The fact you can just sit there and play music and hand out a CD for money.
Yeah.
And get it out there, and then you went home, and then you went on Apple Music or Spotify. He's on there, and it's like insane how you can just listen to that person that you saw one day busking, on any device, anywhere you like.
This was literally a busker that we passed in town whilst we were like having like a McDonald's the next day.
100%.
And it was very amazing, just like knowing or just thinking about how easy it is now to put out music and how easy it is to put yourself out there as a musician. You just got to take time to hone your craft, basically.
Yeah, I mean, look at you. You built a record label by yourself and now have so many acts on it who have now got out there because of you and have gone on to big things, in other areas and other places. I don't know, can we name drop acts? Or
we can name drop acts, yeah, definitely. I know a lot of the people in the record label. You can give me a lot of credit, but they mostly just do their own thing. A lot of the promo is done by themselves. I love to record them.
Yeah.
And I love to help them out as much as I can.
That's what's vital, the recording.
Well, yeah, that's the fun bit for me, because that's something I'm so enthusiastic about. And it's awesome, like, hearing these different acts and how different they are, but still some kind of link and some kind of personal preference that keeps them on the same kind of, like, a place like the record label where I can say that they are similar enough to be as part of like a family of people, I think.
Yeah.
Especially with bands like The Shamble versus like Kraken, who are my old band.
Yeah,
and they're both like guitar-based like bands, but one's very heavy, one's very like jangly and poetic, but they're both kind of both types of music I would definitely just listen to whenever I would basically choose to.
You can, just intertwine it really, do as much as you like. And the fact it's like you've built this sort of, I don't want to use the word, but empire almost over the music scene in York, especially to do with students. And that is what fascinated me to start with, and I thought I'd love to integrate with you in that with my radio show.
Yeah, and we did
which has been doing brilliantly, and that's what we've been doing, and literally playing at Spark. I don't know how it is about who you know, I guess, but I don't know how I managed to support bands Pool Room and Shamble with my first ever gig.
Yeah,
I know it's a charity event, but that, for me, was just huge that you could get up and do that, and people be so supportive afterwards. Yeah. And even members of the Shamble were like, "Oh yeah, sick set, man."
There are so many opportunities for people who want to play music.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, and there's open mics all throughout York all the time. That's the best part about being like such a big pub city.
Yeah.
And I just think it just absolutely fascinated me, and that's when I thought I'm just gonna buy a guitar that I look at and want to play all the time. And that's what my Telecaster does for me.
Yeah.
And then that's just got me playing more, deciding what kind of influence I want to have. And that gig was very rockabilly orientated.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I don't want to do that. Like, I've always thought I wanted to be in a band, but doing it by myself was just a bit of fun.
Mm-hmm. Creativity can come from anywhere. But when you are given a kind of like step from someone or like some piece of advice, even like the smallest comment can really like inspire you or just 100%. Bring forward something new.
The amount of people that said to me afterwards, "You've undersold yourself." Like, it was great to hear those tunes again. That kind of music is insane. Like, because no one hears that much anymore. Mm-hmm. And I look at these rockabilly festivals that are out throughout the UK, and all of it is an older demographic, and you don't see many young acts doing that sort of stuff anymore.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of like, I think, especially within the York music scene, with you and Doug, who are going to play later. Yeah. And even the Shamble as well. It's quite a nostalgic kind of feel to a lot of the student music bands, which are actually turning up and like laying their mark across like York on their time here, which I think is great.
Oh, it's just fascinating.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I am so excited to work on some sort of music writing. I'm not really sure how to do it, because for me it's hard to get into that when you've never done it before.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been asking people to send me their things and like to sort of see how they do it and compare it to how I'd do it. But at the moment, one of the biggest sort of barriers for me is because I usually write, if I do write music, I usually write it imagining what it would be like on stage with a band. So if I wrote a song for a band, or if I wrote a song for just me, that would change the game completely.
Yeah.
I find it hard to write a song that would work for both. I guess you can do that later on, edit it later on, but for me, I need to put myself in me performing it live in my head, and that's the way I'd sing it, and that's when lyrics would come to me. But that's what I need to work on. Basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this because a lot of people, when the only reason a lot of people play music is because they write it, and it's a form of expression through like writing music and the therapy that brings. Which, in my opinion, writing music is probably some of the best therapy you can ever get in terms of when you want to put your thoughts down on like a page. It's absolutely amazing what it can do for you, and I think it's kind of crazy how you haven't written anything yet.
No,
so
I think for me, I've just never channeled my emotions onto paper really, in that sense, in a musical sense before, because for me, music is more about the way it makes me feel when it's played, and like the actual sound of the guitar, for example, or the sound of the drum, or the sound of the voice. And then watching them perform it in person and the energy, I don't know, it just gives me electricity. It's insane. Yeah. And like, watching Mick Jagger do his thing is just electric. Yeah. And I think, and it doesn't have to be upbeat. There's a new artist I'm listening to called Chris Stone Kingfish Ingram, and he's literally the new BB King. Yeah,
I've seen, he's the guy with the Fender. He plays Fender, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And he, Fender or Les Paul, and he is only 19 years of age. It sounds like he's been through a lot in life already. It sounds like he's 50 years old and he's had his heart broken 10 times. He's just playing the blues, and it's fascinating that feel it gives you. And I think the blues has always been integrated into my music taste. Like Blackstone Cherry, a very blues rocky, country rocky. I think it's very hard to pin down. Never really thought about it all before. It's just literally what the music makes me feel at that time. And the aesthetic around it as well, like living between eras almost. It's amazing how you can do that through music.
It's amazing how like people have played a lot of like rockabilly stuff and like older music, but putting a modern twist on it.
Of course.
And I think this is like something which you probably have done as well with because you were telling me earlier about how when you played at Spark, this gig you played recently, you did like mix-ups between like different tunes. Yeah,
so you've been teaching me guitar recently.
I've done a bit, yeah.
Very grateful for. And I thought, I was playing, I literally just formed a playlist on Apple Music on on what songs I'd like to do and what I could do. And then I was playing them and I was realising that's the same chords as that other song.
Yeah.
Why not mix them both up? And it would be funny for people's reactions to see what that's like.
Well, this is something very intriguing because not only could you tell this was a thing back in the day, but nowadays, with the whole 4 chords thing, this is something you see nowadays all the time as well, perhaps even more.
100%.
It's absolutely crazy because there's always a limit to songwriting and how original you can be. But the fact that has always existed and you're able to do that is very intriguing. Yeah,
and I was very surprised at it myself. I mean, it's not the same tempo. The songs aren't the same tempo, but the transition when you slow it down, I did Don't Be Cruel and then slowed it down into The Wanderer. Mm-hmm. And the fact people knew that riff straight away and I was transitioning into the riff and then you come in with the massive note and then people recognise it and they're like, oh my God, the fact he's changed that into that. They loved it.
Yeah.
And I did that with Folsom Prison Blues and Waiting in School by Ricky Nelson as well. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good to transition a song into a song that a lot of people know about because they're like, oh my God, I know that song. And then they're like, oh wow, he's just transitioned that into that.
It is always great to like stick in a cover in a set list, even if like the band is like really like kind of big. Yeah, it's very, because if you're choosing like the right material, people are gonna listen because they know.
Yeah. I mean, I went to see the Amazons 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and they were just playing the normal music and then suddenly bash out Helter Skelter.
Oh really?
And I didn't know any of their songs because they're quite new to me, quite very indie. But their influences are all the same influences as mine, but they just play very modern type of indie music. And then they bashed out Helter Skelter, and that was when I went absolutely crazy, and everyone else went crazy because everyone knows Helter Skelter, man.
Yeah.
And they did 20th Century Boy, and they did literally 3 covers in a row.
So they did like a mashup of like covers.
A mashup of covers.
That's amazing.
And they're all classic rock covers. And I thought, wow, that is amazing how it just all comes together. And you can bash that out as a very successful band that have toured Europe and now playing in a sold-out Leeds O2 Academy. And it was just absolutely fascinating.
That's awesome.
I just had a great time. And I'm still looking at ways to do things because obviously if I just played rockabilly the whole time, it would just get a bit monotonous doing the same thing. I need to figure out ways to,
Well, that's the best part about songwriting as well, because when you're writing material, you find your own kind of like sound within that, and that's how you can kind of, once you've done more of that, it's an even better way to learn how to play songs that you like differently.
Sure.
Because you develop your own style, I think. I think the same goes for like for everything really, like the way you host radio shows, the way you mix music. When you do something for such a long time, you definitely just get your own personality seeping into your craft.
I think as well, one of the big things I learned is that I've played with a lot of different people and tried, trying sessions with different people, and I hadn't had much experience in music or playing live at all, and I sort of leaned on other people a lot to make it sound good and do my own thing, leaning on other people. But I think right now I've figured out, if you spend the time and write things yourself and work on your own ability and output, then you will find that you drop into the, music with the right people, and then people that can boost that productivity come together, and then that's how bands are formed. I think, it's very hard to start. I found it's very hard to start from scratch with other people because you're all at different points.
Yeah.
If you focus on yourself and push yourself and do like these open mics in York by yourself and improve your confidence, you will meet people that are like, oh yeah, let's jam sometime. We could do something.
Yeah, it's a very welcoming environment. It's awesome to get that opportunity.
It really is.
It's awesome. And I don't care what you think of me anymore, as long as you see me for who I am. I don't believe that I'm stuck in a sinkhole, 'cause I found another. For that I'm glad. For that I'm glad. And I don't care what the future holds anymore, as long as I'm living. For that I thank you for everything. I've been so lucky, a lucky boy, yeah. It's who I am. Hold on, face the facts. I see you're still intact. Hold on, face the facts. I can help you feeling bad. Keep on living it up. And I don't care what you think of me anymore, as long as you see me for who I am. All these nights that we're wasting getting poor, they are the best times I could ever ask for. Hold on, face the facts. I see you're still intact. Hold on, face the facts. I can help you feeling bad. Keep on living it up. Keep on living it up. Keep on living it up. I see you're still intact. Hold on, face the facts. I can help you feeling bad. Keep on living it up. Hold on. see you're feeling glad. Hold on, face the facts. I know you'll soon get there. Keep on living it up. Keep on living it up. Keep on living it up. So, we just heard a song which I did when I went onto your session, and I played for the first time a brand new song. And this must have been like a month ago now.
Yeah, start of term. So
yeah.
I
think it was actually
maybe more than a month.
This was like mid-October, I think.
Yeah.
But I remember when I did that, it was a really good fun.
I was just so grateful for you to come on and do that. Yeah,
it was good.
fantastic.
It was good to come back because obviously I did a session with you, as I mentioned earlier, like early in the year, and that was really good fun. But like being able to play a live session,
It's always great to have you on. I'll have you on next term as well if you're up for it.
oh, whenever, it's honestly great.
It's honestly great.
But these sessions are they're weird because it wasn't like a proper like session setup, was it?
No. Well, I think URY do that, but it requires a lot of preparation. You have to clear that blue studio out that we were in, and I'm in the red studio, and then I send it over to you basically, and then you play in there, and then I bring it back to me. So I can't really have a conversation with you properly.
Yeah. So how many studios are there in URY?
Just two of them. Red studio, blue studio. Red's the bigger one, but I like the blue one. Just because it's just sort of a nicer feeling. I don't know. I just feel better in there, and it's more like it's smaller, so it's just more sort of general conversation with the person. I feel like I'm actually having a good chat with them rather than being like far away at the other side of the table, being like hello, trying to reach over.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not like a massive tech guy when it comes to URY, are you?
No, not at all. I struggled a bit. How they do it is they train you and everything, and they're telling me all these things, and I'm like, I had no experience in this whatsoever. I have no clue what's going on. And then you apply for a show and you lob straight in, and that's it. And like, not many people listen to it, but it's still a big thing because you broadcast, and it's there for people to listen back to. So if you do mess up massively, it's there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's all live, of course.
Of course, it's all live, yeah, which is a big thing because if you mess up in conversation, then you can't really do much to change it.
Yeah, whilst with this, you can edit it.
You can edit it,
which I definitely haven't done. I definitely haven't snipped bits out, which I don't want in.
This is a perfect, just complete straight run.
Exactly. Edit this out.
But for me, I don't know, I just kind of like the raw message to someone being like, come in and literally set up your guitar, play something, and that is rock and roll, just do it off the cuff. And there's a little mic in there, so you set that up next to the guitar, and then you've got the mic for the voice, and then I can sit there with my headphones on and change the dials and sliders to be like whatever they're called. See, I don't know anything.
No, you do. It's very intriguing because, like, I think what we used for the guitar was a vocal mic as well.
Yeah, of course.
The thing is, I don't really know how all the processing works in URY, but I did a live session for the Shamble, which we talk about in our podcast, and we played some of the tunes from that. And they are like properly mixed, but the way that you mix vocals and guitars are going to be different.
Sure.
When we did the URY session, we just literally just put a microphone in front of both and just went for it.
Yeah, and it sounded good.
It sounded like, it sounded, you could hear everything. I guess that's the main thing.
I guess that's the main thing.
Yeah.
I was listening to it being like, yeah, it's good. Yeah. And like, it might have been like rough in parts maybe, but that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's minimal
I don't know
setup.
why. I don't like it to be, I don't know, like squeaky clean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want it to be raw and passionate in your sort of heart and soul, just singing your songs that you've written.
Oh.
And then me be able to watch that in person as well as comment on it afterwards and have a conversation about what's just happened.
Yeah.
That is better than, I don't know, being so set up and prepared for it to sound like amazing, but that just takes the heart away from it, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
It still sounds, I think for me it sounds better and more amazing because of how raw it is, and it's like you're there in the studio with us, being like, oh, I'm just actually listening to a live set rather than some recording that's been, edited loads already.
Yeah. It's very cool hearing what people have to think about how much processing and mixing can go into a project for it to sound disingenuine.
Yes,
and that's exactly why your stuff is, I think, a very nice thing to listen to. As a student, how do you manage to get your balance right between doing your studies and music?
To be honest, I don't. It's kind of hard. I do love my course, but I came to uni, and I straight up say this, not just for the course. I came to uni for the experience of university life and the people you meet. And if I hadn't have come to uni and met people like you, Tom, or anyone in this sort of music area, I wouldn't have had a radio show. I wouldn't have played any open mics. I wouldn't have a new guitar probably because I wouldn't have got into it that much.
Yeah.
It's things that have changed massively. I wouldn't have met the amazing people I've met. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to interview people and actually learn from what their influences are and how they write songs. And then I wouldn't have this creative output that I have now. And I definitely wouldn't be, who I am as a person.
Yeah, this kind of experience definitely shapes the way you act as a person in general.
Of course.
But also your entire musical experience.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome how just the 3 or 4 years people have at university as students and what they do with their time can just entirely shape their prospects and how they pursue creative endeavors in the future.
100%.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been... I just don't know where I would have been without uni, really. I wouldn't have had all this experience with music and had a sort of drive to do live music at all. I would have just been still been at home watching Mick Jagger on some old tape or, I just think it's absolutely amazing experience. And in terms of balancing my work and my music, I integrate listening to music with work, of course, and I listen to all sorts of types. Funnily enough, I work best with opera in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah, opera or classical.
What's your favourite opera?
Of course, Luciano Pavarotti is my boy.
Wow.
I just think he's amazing. But I honestly probably spent more time on music in general, radio, playing guitar, listening to music, than maybe doing straight things for my course because it's all integrated. And the course itself, I'm not sure, throughout the couple of years I've just learnt so much and music's been a big part of that I'm not sure if I want to... I'm not a person that has this degree to get this certain job that I'm looking for. It's changed amazingly. I don't know. I nearly went into radio.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and now you applied for all these studio all these radio awards.
Yeah,
nationwide and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm maybe I want to be a radio host after uni.
Yeah,
and it can be done. I know I can't remember his name, but he graduated last year, and now he's on BBC Radio Leeds.
Yeah,
and he would just go into. He literally did a course, nothing to do. I think he did PPE or something, and he would come into the studio early in the morning or late at night and just practice. And he's had experience with it for years and years before anyway, doing community radio as a younger teenager. And then he literally got into BBC Radio Leeds straight out of university, and it's nothing to do with his degree, really.
Yeah.
And I was down that route for a while. But now for me, I think music is just a side thing to keep me happy. I think I want to I do archaeology as a degree, and I want to pursue the heritage management side of that, or global sort of efforts to preserve people's culture. And I don't really know if I want to work with people or animals yet, really. It's completely different. I want to work with organisations like UNESCO or WWF, which are, big on conservation of either people's past or animals' habitats. And that is completely different to...
Yeah, that's a completely
different
crazy
route. Different route to radio, to live performance, to being in a band and being on the road.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd love to be in a band and be on the road.
I think that's everyone's dream.
That's everyone's dream, and just literally have a shacky, van, and just playing at small gigs, going throughout the whole UK, and that's what the Amazons did, funnily enough. And their first album cover is that van on fire. They set it on fire, yeah, as symbolism to be like,
oh wow,
this, you know, I don't know what the symbolism is really.
Just like, oh yeah, we don't need a van anymore.
Yeah, we don't need a van anymore.
We can get in like planes and do stuff like that.
But the fact it's so integral to their, so integral to their.
I think people's experiences at uni and the actual like literal like tech experience and like radio experience or like live music experience, it just is something which is so helpful in the future. Even if you're not even pursuing something like that, you can put on like your CV that you worked or you were taking part in like a society which was heavily involved with radio,
of course,
or you were
it's all transferable.
All these skills are transferable. I think it's great that you have that chance at uni, especially when there's people like, I guess, like you and me who are so always doing stuff involved with this. That just inspires people around you to do the same.
100%. And if you have a job where you have to get up and make a speech or do a public speaking, and that is similar to performing in a way.
Yeah.
You have the confidence because you've had this hobby to get up and perform in front of people. It's literally the same thing. It's a performance to stand up and talk to in front of people.
No, definitely. It's almost integral to that.
It's all integral, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess if people are like considering like, even like, if people have a musical bone in their body and they want to practice public speaking, just play music.
Yeah,
that's what I'll suggest.
I agree. Yeah, in front of people, and if it's a small going to a little open mic and there's literally like 3 people sat down having pints,
that's even better.
Listening, that's just like even better because you're still doing it. And the first open mic I played at was with you, Gully, at Golden Fleece.
Yeah, I remember this.
And it was I forgot words, and it was weird set, and you know it's just what it is. And this lady comes up after and says like, keep doing Johnny Cash and things like that, because that's what you like, your beat and your rhythm with that is perfect for it. And that one person saying something like that can be like, wow, I think that old style of country bluesy kind of rockabilly music is what I can do good. Yeah,
it's awesome like hearing just like, even like especially strangers who's coming up to you and being like, yeah, that was awesome, keep doing that. It's so inspiring.
May have had a few
like,
whiskeys or something.
Oh yeah,
but that's fine. That's even better, man.
It's so gratifying like when you have that reaction from someone who you don't even know and they're not even trying to be nice. They're literally just wanting to come up to you and congratulate you and just
give you advice. Yeah, and it's just that is what is amazing, and that's what happened at Spark as well. And I thought I sort of flunked it a bit. I didn't stick to my same set list. I forgot words. Like I absolutely mortified a Buddy Holly song because I forgot the words, but it's just like the beat kept on going and people were still like tapping their feet, and you notice them kind of things. And I struggled to keep my eyes open when singing because I'm just so nervous.
Oh really?
And then and I'm just like focused on the sound rather than people's reactions because I forget words. You know, if there's too much going on, I forget words easy.
That's one of the hardest things, remembering lyrics when
you're
playing music.
So hard. And there's and people come up after saying like, you definitely undersold yourself, and like Hinchcliffe saying it now, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Had no clue, and people just sort of loved it.
Yeah.
And it's just a different vibe, and it's not the main event, so if it goes wrong, who cares? And like, you know, it's just a great experience all around.
That's an awesome
I'm grateful to have that experience.
And the opportunity
the opportunity to support 2 bands that I've been to actual gigs for and paid to see.
Yeah.
The fact that I could have just got up and like played with them beforehand, it's amazing.
Cool.
The thing I found the best is everyone looks out for each other. So people help you set up, people congratulate you, people help you take stuff down. These are other acts, I mean.
Yeah.
And at the end, one of the guitarists of Pool Room, Louis, came up to me and was like, "Oh, is this your capo, man?" And he could have easily taken that for himself.
Yeah.
I left my capo there, and he was like, "Oh, I lose them all the time. It's so like annoying when you lose them. Here you go, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, great set, by the way." And it's that one interaction where you're like, "Wow, it's musicians looking out for musicians." And like, I wouldn't even call myself a musician. I just get up and play something, and then. And the fact that they can congratulate you after that and like just sort of motivates you to carry on and to realise the community is so. I'm sure the community can be harsh, but if you're just doing it for fun, the community is so warm and welcoming.
That's one of the things which I really enjoy about the York music scene, because I'm originally from like Bedfordshire, and there was quite a heavy like metal music scene which went on when I was involved with that when I was younger, and it was very competitive, and people weren't. Because I've lost, people have stolen my own gear when I've played gigs back in the past. It's not great, but York is absolutely awesome, and people are so like, they're so nice and they're so genuine about like other music which they hear.
I don't know what it is about York. It's just so.
It's a very wholesome place.
It's wholesome.
I
and
love
friendly.
it. Okay, so with each podcast, I kind of have an idea of having people list as many things as possible under a certain category in a minute. And what I'm going to do with you today is because I know you're very involved with radio and choosing your own music, and also now playing live and choosing music to play. If you can name as many of your favorite artists in 1 minute.
Many of my favourite artists as possible.
In 1 minute, starting right now.
Elvis Presley, Rolling Stones, Beatles, Blackstone Cherry, Cadillac 3, Christone Kingfish Ingram. God, I'm not good at this. Soundgarden, Kiss, Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, I guess. Let me think. Harry Styles, Diana Ross, Buddy Holly, Roy Orbison, B.B. King, Michael Jackson, controversial, Aretha Franklin, Yola, Greta Van Fleet, of course. What am I doing? The Amazons.
I thought you were going to miss out Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, I was like, no. Let me think. The Smiths. I can't get Robbie Williams out of my head for some reason.
That's fine, Robbie Williams. Your time's up.
Boyzone.
Boyzone? Why was Boyzone your last one?
Because my flatmate loves Robbie Williams, and I try and match her with a cheesy one and say Boyzone, so just linked onto that.
Wow.
I'm not very good at thinking on the spot. I've missed out so many big ones there.
That's fine. I was almost convinced you weren't going to say Greta Van Fleet, which is crazy, because you're obsessed.
I didn't even say Led Zeppelin, man. They're all coming to me now.
Wow.
I think many artists sort of attract a broad range of people. I think going to see Greta Van Fleet with a group of friends, and I met like two other people there, random people, and we were the only ones actually full on jumping and going for it.
Yeah.
Because we think it's like rock and roll, like rock. We need to be dancing, we need to be jumping about.
Yeah.
Like people are to Catfish and the Bottommen nowadays. Mm-hmm. There's people around us who are like 50, 60-year-olds, or even youngsters that are just stood there watching it, not doing anything, hardly moving.
Why do you think that's the case?
I don't know if it's just. I really don't know what's going through their head, because I didn't drink it all, and I was going crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just because of my raw love for them. But I mean, many people might have just seen them just to experience that.
Yeah. And you were standing, were you?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And everyone else around you was standing there, but they weren't moving at all.
No, and there was people. This is a fascinating thing. A couple of guys came up to us for the last song, Safari song, when they came on for the encore, and then they were absolutely dancing with us, like jumping in the air, going mental. And then at the end, they were like, "Oh man, it's such a dead crowd. We've been trying to move our way over to you guys because we saw you were the ones dancing with your arms in the air, rock cymbals in the air, and like absolutely just having a great time." And there's people like standing so close to Greta, and they're not doing anything.
They're just watching
and just nodding reds.
That's such a shame.
And it's like, I don't know, it's just the different crowd it attracts, and I just feel like if Greta Van Fleet had a crowd, a Catfish Bottommen crowd, and they all like loved their songs, it would have been a completely different experience, and everyone would be moshing. Like the Amazons was a completely different experience. Everyone was just moshing all the time. Yeah. And that's insane. And I just feel like people used to do that to rock and roll, classic like Led Zeppelin and things. People used to do that. Why can't they do it now?
Yeah,
it's just very strange.
That's a shame that was happening. What do you think about, because Greta Van Fleet have always been rather controversial because people just see them as a Led Zeppelin cover band, really.
Right, yeah.
What do you think about that?
I love Led Zeppelin, so there's no problem with music like theirs, new music like theirs coming out. I don't see the problem. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If you like a band, why... I know I'm an archaeologist, but like, why are you trying to preserve just that music when there's so much more that is so similar to it coming out. You could just integrate them both, and you just have an even better time than you did before.
I guess people just assume like Greta Van Fleet don't have like any like originality.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not that I don't think that
the lyrics are original.
Well, there you go.
Of course.
The whole style and kind of like standpoint. Though.
I've never seen a guitarist like Jake Kiske in my life.
Is that the guy from
Greta Van Fleet?
Yeah.
He is insane, and the fact that all members can play all the other instruments, like I've seen them do it.
Yeah.
And their style, aesthetics different. They're very naturey. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Peace and love. It's kind of cool to bring it back to that time.
Yeah.
The people complain about modern day music. And they say, and these are the people that only listen to like Led Zeppelin and music from the 70s, whatever. And they complain about modern day music, saying, "Oh, it's a load of rubbish. No rock and roll. Where's the rock and roll?" And then a band like Greta comes along, and they're like, "Oh, it's just like Led Zeppelin." I don't it's just like, where's the what do you want to happen?
It's so hypocritical.
It is, and it's like, do you want to just raise them from the dead? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's really easy to jump on the bandwagon. But honestly, like, there's not really a big problem with trying to revive that kind of band.
That's what I live for. That's why I do rock and roll radio.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Man, it's literally, that is the foundation of why I'm doing it, to keep these bands alive as well as promote the new ones. I think there's a big sort of I think this might be part of the crowd as well in Greta Van Fleet. It's a big sort of music snobbery going on. I'm just so big on performing that style of music in the modern day, because I want it to live on. You can't just listen to the same tracks all over, like, you can, but you can't complain about new bands that are sounding similar when that's the music you like. I don't understand. And Chris Stone Kingfish Ingram, big blues artist now, he's literally got nominated for a Grammy for the traditional blues album of the year, and he is literally just like B.B. King. It's literally standard 12-bar blues stuff.
Yeah.
And he's 19 years of age, and people are just complaining about it being like B.B. King, or, it's just a joke.
I think it's so easy to be a music snob, especially with the rise of like social media and stuff. Because there's so many like popular like music critics you'll see online, like influenced to the point where people will see a review of an album and be like, "Oh, I'm allowed to like this album now," or "Oh, no, I can't like this album anymore because he hates it." That kind of influence that we are exposed to nowadays didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
But there's positives and negatives, because without a lot of like this media and stuff, you wouldn't have even got into like,
of course,
this rockabilly.
I don't know what I would have done.
In the back streets, the suburban Savannah, living off of the gold hard ground, and he don't have no money or no partner. That's along that lonesome road he bound. It's along that lonesome road it bound. Well, I don't think he finds this city so pretty. No, I don't think he thinks these streets so clean. No man like that never wanna live in the city. Gotta have your hands in the dirt if you wanna stay clean. That's what he says. Gotta have your hands in the dirt if you wanna stay clean. Alright. Probably think him sinner and a vagrant, 'cause he finds what he can just to survive. But he's still a man with the same feeling for us. And you is an animal of another kind. Yet you is an animal of a whole other kind. And now you're wondering what is he high on to today now. Maybe he just can't take much more of the strain. And you for sure better hope and pray now that you don't end up the very same way.
Cool. So we're coming to the end now. We just heard a song by, like basically a live session from one of your UOY guests, Doug. And this dude, he's new this year, isn't he?
Yeah. So I saw him perform at the Meet and Jam that you organised. Mm-hmm. One of them, and I just thought it was great that he was playing the old tunes, playing House of the Rising Sun, you know, tunes that we all knew.
Yeah, so this guy, he doesn't play rockabilly stuff, but he plays more retro tunes than a lot of other people play nowadays.
Old blues, country blues.
Yeah.
I think he's a country blues boy.
Yeah, definitely. He's got that
and
voice.
his name's Doug Goldstraw. Isn't that the best name for a country blues artist?
Almost a better name than Jordan Wernyj.
Thank you. And he came on the show. I had no idea what he was going to do. He had no idea what he was going to do. He walked in and was like, "What am I doing?" And I was like, "Oh, it's an hour long," and he didn't even know that. And he was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, he was like, "Oh, so I'll just play some tunes and leave, shall I?" And I was like, "No, just stay for the whole show and we'll chat about it." And he was like, "Oh, that's sick."
Yeah.
And he was so overwhelmed by it. He was like, "Oh, that's amazing. I love doing that." And he played 3 tunes, I think. And I think he just came out and did "Baby Please Don't Go," which I know the best cover of is by Them in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I was just absolutely loving it. I had no idea. And his voice is very deep. It's very classic.
Mm-hmm.
Country rocker. He's finger picking, and I was just fascinated by it.
It's awesome seeing another guy come in who is so incredibly influenced by older styles of music. And back to our points at the very beginning of the show, just about how important it is to keep those kind of genres of music alive. It's quite easy to play music which appeals to those kind of crowds, like playing Arctic Monkeys everywhere you go and stuff like that.
Of course. Yeah, I think everyone knows the classic tunes, and if you just put your own twist on it, it's great to bring it back. And I think that's what goes down well. Obviously, your own music will go down well.
Yeah.
But, for example, with the rockabilly, you don't see rockabilly artists making it big on, the pop stage anymore, or in the top 100 or whatever. That style is completely phased out because it's just going to other styles. But I'd still listen to that. I hardly come across any new artists that are very rockabilly-like. And I think that's another reason why I'm so motivated to do it, because I just want to see if it can be done.
Yeah.
And everyone knows Elvis, man.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Everyone knows
it's such a
Elvis.
good place to start, I think.
Yeah, it's a great foundation to do, and people know the songs. And Buddy Holly as well. Everyone knows the songs.
The thing is, even I remember one of my first Christmas presents I properly remember is that my grandma got me an Elvis compilation CD.
Right.
And I was obsessed with it for 2 years straight. I got it when I was 5 years old, and I remember loving Suspicious Minds back in the day. Because
what a great song.
It's such a good song. One of my favorite songs of all time now, because I just grew up with a lot of Elvis's stuff too.
Yeah, of course. I think he's good start foundation.
Definitely.
Elton John started with Elvis.
Well, there you go.
Amazing.
Rockabilly in general has just inspired so many genres. Just over the years, it's developed into what you hear nowadays.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to keep going with it. I think I'm going to keep going rockabilly, and I want to learn how to solo like they do, because it's very difficult, very fast solos.
Yeah.
Chuck Berry as well, big influence for that kind of thing, which again came to me through pop culture. Marty McFly playing Johnny B. Good in Back to the Future. And that all comes together. Oh, and Pulp Fiction with the Chuck Berry song when they're dancing, the twist. I think that is what's key to success in music or pop culture, and I think that's what influences so many different people.
Yeah.
And that is literally what I'm trying to do with rock and roll radio. I think that is, and rock and roll in general, with live performing or whatever goes on. And people say I'm underselling myself, but I'm literally not selling myself. That's the problem. I'm not. I don't have a brand. I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
So I don't have my own identity yet. I've
Yeah.
literally just started. And
Well, that's the best thing, because you just got to keep doing stuff which makes you happy, and then soon it'll catch on with other people. So, how important do you think generally your work in UOY is for like student acts in general? Because you have a lot to offer, but a lot of people probably don't know that a lot of what you do even exists.
I think it's not like very important. It's just a good I just see it as a good opportunity for them and me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing it in a selfish way just to get them on to boost my show. I am actually just generally interested and intrigued in them as artists.
Yeah.
And I've had people actually message me being like, "I want to come on with my band," and I'm trying to organise that for next term. But it's when people do that, it's just amazing, because the people are starting to realise what it could do for themselves.
Yeah.
And they want that experience. And the fact I can give them that just off something that I started myself and thought this would be awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you could sort of build something like that.
I mean, I ask especially because I know with certain URY shows, it's probably very easy just to like contain your whole kind of brand and your whole ideas just within the URY studios. Like, for example, I'm sure there's a lot of shows which exist which are basically just like news shows.
Sure.
But probably more general stuff like...
There's like an NFL show or a football show, a sports
there
commentary.
you go.
There's Drama Sock do actual like drama pieces on the radio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's cool.
A lot of podcasts happen. So
there's so much stuff available at URY. People don't realize how powerful it is as a service to like that it brings and the experience you can get from it. I think it's great. Do you think that, because obviously if we're being realistic, like I think a lot of people who are aware of URY are probably only fully aware because they want to be involved with it rather than taking their time to listen to it.
I think one big thing I have been a big sort of advocate for is getting URY played at campus bars.
Yeah, I think that's such a missed opportunity, because I think it's such an obvious step to take for campus. And I think now they've had quite a bit of an overhaul with because basically what they do with YouTube bars is that you can buy like drinks and food, and then you can spend the points which you get from buying stuff there on rewards like requesting a song.
Yeah.
So they've had an overhaul with that. I don't know if that's even an option anymore.
Fair. Well, I think what they should do is, because there's not a show on all the time at URY, when there is a show on, put it on in a campus bar.
Yeah.
And when there isn't, it goes to URY Jukebox, which is just a stream of songs, any song, in the URY Central Library. And if you, when the jukebox is on, just put it back to like someone's Spotify playlist, and then they could do requests during that time. But there's no harm in just putting a show on, radio show on in the campus bar.
I think it's such a missed opportunity as well, especially with student music, because I think it's really important that like campus bars support it as well, because I think they have a duty to help out student like media and stuff.
Of course, and
because it's such a great place to do it as well.
Yeah, and I think Alex West tried very hard to get that done, but there's just so much to do that it's hard to get there.
I can imagine there's so much things to do on the covers.
There's so much. I don't know how he did it. Literally, when you talk about me balancing my music and my course, he literally that took over his life at uni, being URY manager. It's insane.
I can imagine.
Because he had to. Oh, there's so many things that I could talk about. Yeah, that for hours. But I just really hope that it does push forward, because URY is getting bigger and bigger. It's obviously got this whole new tech. The shows are getting bigger, and hopefully rock and roll's a big player in that. That it shows that it can bring the community together, and you can get your family and friends listening.
Yeah,
and for me, imagine on a Saturday at 6, where a lot of people will be in those bars, could listen to this show and be like, oh wow, he's got a band on there. He's got the Shamble on this Saturday.
Yeah.
Who are the Shamble? There you go. They look on their phone. They find their EP. Bang.
Yeah.
And it's just literally a better way of getting the music out there.
Band Society puts on a load of events in some of the campus bars. You've played at some of them. People have recognised you and know who you are because of the music which you play, like live and on the radio. Because they see you as that rock and roll dude.
Yeah.
So.
And in terms of like rockabilly and things, like it does depend the environment you're in. Like I've struggled to sort of get a band going, and if I did get a band going, I would I've no problem with playing like heavy rock, or I'd love to do that, playing much heavier music than I do with rockabilly. But it's just because when you're solo, it's hard to do that.
How do you feel about like playing in bands versus playing on your own?
I'd love to play in a band, not gonna lie, because you just gel with the people you're with on stage.
You have played in kind of like a band before, because you have played with other people.
Yeah, I have, and I absolutely loved it. And like, there's nothing more like I'd want than to practice loads, but it's hard to organise it all.
Yeah.
And you need to have the output from everyone at the same time. And how I'm sort of seeing it now is just do your own thing, and you'll meet people. With
many things, if you're not looking for it, it will happen. I think music especially is something which is such a good example of this.
It's brilliant, yeah. If you just don't look, like, it's good to look, but I think if you're struggling when looking, focus on yourself and things will pop up. And I've tried playing with lots of different people, and it does work and it does sound cool. But if it's not constant and focused on, it's hard to keep it going.
Yeah.
And I'd love, literally, I came over summer, I literally had a dream of forming a band at university and creating music and like playing at big events. But you can't force it, and like you can't force it. I'll try to look for people, but I think at the moment I'm just trying to work on myself and then see what happens.
Oh yeah. Closing words then. I'm probably going to ask this on every show, but like, if you were going to give like any advice to any live or any upcoming musician or person who wants to get involved with music, what kind of advice would you give them?
I think approach it in any way you'd like. If you want to perform live, I think if you just want to perform in general, I guess it is a performance on radio. I could give you all the advice in the world on what to do, but in the end, you'll always find your own way. And I've been advised many times by people on what to do and not to do. And if I started something as little as a radio show that's now blown up into a big sort of communal base for people to come on and perform. And I've just literally done my first gig last weekend. And I've been at York for 3 years. I'm literally 21, so I'm quite old to be starting now. In some, like, a lot of people start when they're like 13, 14.
Yeah.
But literally, go your own way, do the style of music you want to do, and you'll find happiness in what you do.
Hell yeah. Just do it for yourself.
Do it for yourself. Yeah, don't do it for, unless, I guess, you want to turn it into a career, that's still doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really good at advice or all that because I'm just new to myself. But
that's fine.
Advice I'd give is go your own way. Fleetwood Mac.
What tune? Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. I think it's been great chat about loads of stuff.
No, thank you.
We talked about loads of stuff. We talked about like URY. We talked about rockabilly. We've talked about just random artists and like authenticity as well. It's such a big thing which I love to talk about and see how people approach it.
I've never really talked about it openly before, so thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and opportunity to actually be a guest on something
as opposed to the one being
the host.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
No, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.